Formerly known as Backbone before its relaunch in 2021, Tales Noir, a post-noir narrative adventure, is an indie game developed by Eggnut and published by Raw Fury. You play as Howard Latour, a seemingly experienced private eye, following the lead of a missing persons case. The story takes a dark turn when Howard finds himself in the middle of a murder mystery and in the basement of a well-known establishment, a bar and jazz lounge run by its shady and well-connected owner, Clarissa Bloodworth, who we soon learn is entangled in the web of a much larger conspiracy. As Howard teams up with an unlikely partner, he embarks on a journey to uncover the truth about what he's found, no matter the cost. The gameplay is pretty straightforward, using a right-left point-and-click system to interact with objects and to engage in conversation with other characters. Conversations with characters progress via multi-choice dialogue options, which ultimately move the story forward in a linear fashion regardless of your dialogue choices. Now, I would have preferred my dialogue choices to have more impact on the direction of the story, resulting in several different endings opposed to only one. But having said that, the variation of dialogue options still creates dynamic in the telling of the story. Gameplay is simplified for the sake of the story and pushes you forward without giving you much room to explore areas or to go off course of the narrative. So the game took me approximately 5.5 hours to complete, with the story being broken up into 5 acts, ending with the epilogue. Now, the first 3 acts were engaging, and as the story unfolded, more characters and subplots were introduced. But unfortunately, by Act 4 going into Act 5, the narrative from the first 3 acts was completely tossed out. And this left me with too many unanswered questions and what felt like incomplete character development, which was vital to the initial narrative. The story digressed entirely as I reached the epilogue, taking an abstract turn, leaving character plots unresolved, and ultimately ended with an unsolved case and without closure. Although I had my reservations about the writing, the musical and artistic direction of Tales Noir was nothing short of genius. From the atmosphere and aesthetic to the experimental jazz soundtrack that played throughout the game, with certain segments containing memorable performances from indie artists and vocalists. These instrumental and vocal performances added emotional depth to the story and were cued with purpose at all the right moments. Although the game's graphics were heavily pixelated, the aesthetic choice was not difficult to get used to, and I actually grew an appreciation for it as I progressed through the game. Even though the story became lackluster towards the end, Tales Noir has a niche in the narrative gaming world. Art is subjective, and all in all, I enjoyed the artistic direction of the game despite its poor decisions regarding the storyline. Personally, I honor Tales Noir as a showcase of musical and artistic prowess carried out in the digital space, making a daring entry into the modern gaming industry. Thanks for watching.